Greetings, viewers. JLB here. On today's episode of Animation Cinema, we are going to be discussing one of Disney's happiest features. I'm talking, of course, about the one and only Lady and the Tramp. But before I get going, yesterday I saw the film Toy Story 4, and I gotta say, it was a pretty good film. I might do a review of the movie later, a video about my impressions of the film, but that's for another time. But for now, let's talk about Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp is your basic love story, but with dogs. Dog meets dog, dog loses dog, and dog gets dog in the end. And apparently, the story of Lady and the Tramp was inspired by... well, it's based on the book Happy Dan the Cynical Dog by Ward Green. And it's based off of a legend that Walt Disney gave his wife, Flora, a Cocker Spaniel puppy in a hat box. I'm not sure if that's completely true, but it's a Disney urban legend that many find interesting. But basically, the story takes place in Walt's era, and is to say, around the turn of the century. It starts on Christmas morning 1909, but mostly takes place in the year 1910. But let's just say, if you've seen Lady and the Tramp, you know how the story goes. If you haven't seen Lady and the Tramp, well, stick around till the end of this video to hear if it's worth a watch or so. Now, when the film was before the film was released on June 22nd, 1955, there was an episode of Disneyland that aired before the film's release called A Story of Dogs. And it basically showed the making of Lady and the Tramp. It was a precursor to the behind-the-scenes documentaries that you would find on regular Disney DVDs. But this film was definitely a big success for Disney, considering that it was coming off the heels of films like Cinderella, Peter Pan, and Alice in Wonderland, the first feature films released after the war by Disney. But of course, the story of Lady and the Tramp doesn't end there. Not by a long shot. There was actually a direct-to-video sequel we'll be talking about later on the show called Lady and the Tramp 2 Scamp's Adventure, which follows Lady and the Tramp's son Scamp. And there's also a live-action remake of the story that's coming soon to Disney Plus, the new streaming service by Disney. So when it launches in November, I think Lady and the Tramp might be one of the starting films for the lineup. For the starting lineup, at least. But we'll just have to wait until this November, when Disney Plus launches, to see how the live-action version of this film turns out. So keep yourselves tuned in. But is Lady and the Tramp worth your time? Well, if you're a dog person, you might like it. If you're not a dog person, well, you might still get some enjoyment out of this. But I would definitely be remiss if I did not mention the iconic Bella Notte scene in the film, because that scene was parodied in other Disney films, and other films in general, like Rugrats in Paris. But we'll be discussing that later on in the show when we get to Rugrats in Paris and discuss some of the aspects of that film. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on Lady and the Tramp. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Just let me know in the comments, and personally I haven't seen it either, but let me know in the comments your thoughts on Lady and the Tramp. Until then, see you next time, and have a magical day.